Mr. Abuaku is a seasoned professional with extensive experience in the field of integrated marketing, communication, and design consultancy. As the Chief Executive Officer of Shared Insight Limited, a company he founded in July 2008, IKEM has led the organization in creating impactful brand strategies, executing effective marketing communications, enhancing customers' experience, and designing compelling publications. With a focus on building strong market presence for clients, Shared Insight Limited, under his leadership, has fostered enduring brand loyalty. Proud to establishing the Shared Insight Limited, IKEM held a significant role in various organizations. He served as the Managing Director, Chief Executive Officer of Spring Mortgage Limited from May 2004 to March 2008, and where he played a pivotal role in the company's growth and success. Before his ventures at Spring Mortgage, he served as a senior head for Lagos Corporate at Guardian Express Bank PLC from 2004 to 2006, demonstrating his expertise in the financial sector. IKEM educational background includes a certificate program in driving digital and social strategy from Harvard Business School Executive Education, completed in 2015. He also holds an MBA in International Business Management from the Lagos State University, where he honed his skills in business administration and management. In addition to his professional endeavors, Mr. Abuaku is actively involved in advisory role, presently serving as on the Apollo Advisory Board. His diverse experience, coupled with his educational achievement, position him as a knowledgeable and influential figure in the realms of marketing, finance, and business management. Mr. IKEM Abuaku continues to make significant contribution to the business landscape in Nigeria and beyond. And it is with great pleasure and without much ado, I would like to invite our speaker for today, Mr. Abuaku, to give us from his wealth of experience, give us an insightful presentation. And on that note, I will hand over to our speaker. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. And how audible am I?
You are audible to me. I can't speak for others, but you can not to talk a little.
Very audible.
Loud and clear, loud and clear.
Okay, thank you, Prof, for the introduction. You're just too kind. And thank you, everyone in attendance at this session for today. What we are simply doing is just to refresh our minds on what we already know. Sometimes we know these things, but we just want to be reminded that, okay, this is something we already know, something that we should ordinarily be part of. So this is just a session to just share. I'm trying to also share my screen. Okay, so today we're supposed to be looking at what I've called how to use the business model canvas to build unicorn academic ventures. Truthfully, the goal is to build a unicorn as much as possible. Somebody told me long ago, I believe it was my math teacher in secondary school, who said, look, if you want to make 80% in math, why don't you target to make 280%? You never can tell. From 280%, you could easily come down to 75%, which in those days is an A. So that should be the mindset when you're setting up an enterprise. So we should always aim to look at building a unicorn whenever we come together and say, we want to go into business, or when we want to collaborate with friends of ours and say, let's do something that adds value to society while making money. So in this session today, the takeaway for us will be that we should be able to define what a unicorn is, an academic venture, what it is, and also a business model canvas. We should also be able to refresh our minds as to certain real-world examples. We should be able to look at them, especially those who have used the business model canvas. In addition to that, we should be able to understand what that business model framework is all about and how it can make impact to the bottom line of any enterprise we want to venture into. So at the fundamental level, let's even do some kind of definition of terms. So we want to look at a unicorn. Today in business, when we talk about unicorn, we're not talking about the animal, the mythical animal unicorn. We are talking about a business that can be valued at $1 billion and above. Today, that's some good money. In fact, I don't even know what 1 billion is in Naira these days. Okay. So an academic venture basically is a fancy word for business, any enterprise that we want to set up. So no matter the type of enterprise, whether it's going to be driven by one person or multiple persons. But the good thing about it is that the setting is in an academic environment. And typically, the people who are going to found it is either one person, a researcher, or a multiplicity of persons coming together within that environment. It could be the staff of that institution, it could be students, it could be some of the research personnel within that institution, or a combination of them. Typically, you'll even find a combination because there are people who play different roles in that kind of enterprise. Yeah, so that is, yeah. Then the other element we need to discuss will be the business model canvas itself, just to, by way of definition and where it's coming from. This is a tool that helps in basically analyzing a business model. And what's a business model? A business model is everything about how a business makes money. Okay, how does it create value? How does it deliver value? And how does it sustain that value and the delivery of it? Two professors, they are Swiss professors. There is Alex Osterwalder and Yves Pinnier. It's a fairly modern concept. So maybe about 15 years ago, they came up with this theory that there are 9 building blocks, actually, that drives a business, okay, that can be used for. So in those days, it was a theory, but over the years, it has been proven that what started off as a theory actually works in real life. So you have a situation where the building blocks that they identified are the various customer segments. So if you're setting up a business, you must serve somebody. You don't exist in that business to serve yourself. You're not in business for your own purposes, but you exist there to solve a problem. And those things that you put together that enables you want to solve, those tools, those things you have in your hand to solve a particular problem and meet customer needs, is what you call your value proposition. This value proposition must be fairly tangible. It must set you apart from others. So what are those things that represent what you call, somebody refers to it as your core? Those things that are of high exchangeable value, okay? So the other element is called the channel. So when you have your proposition, value proposition, or those elements that you have to enable you to solve problems, how do you now get it across to the buyers? Okay, so that is what channels are you going to use, whether it's communication, whether it's distribution, or whether it's sales. The next other point is the what is called customer relationships. What kind of relationships will you need to establish and sustain with the various customer segments? Because in each customer segment, you must identify both the demographics and also the other elements that help you clearly define who it is that you serve. What is the persona of that within the segment that you're dealing with? Okay, so the other one is the revenue. Okay, just like I said earlier on, if you are not there to make money, you might as well just be dissipating energy. Setting up a business is all about, yes, you want to make impact. Yes, you want to contribute to society. But the question is, how do you sustain it? And you cannot sustain it without having certain defined revenue streams. And those revenue streams must come through consistent delivery of your value proposition. So you also need resources. What are the infrastructure, those things that you need to put together? The men, materials, and money, where do you need them? How do you prioritize them in such a way that you're able to deliver your value propositions also on a sustainable basis? Then there are activities that must be performed. So those key activities, you must also prioritize them. So yes, you need key partnerships. Okay, that's the 8th one. Now, key partnerships might not come to play at the very beginning, but for some of businesses, you need partnership at the very beginning, but some will be further down the road. So those partnerships you must outline, whether it's in the short term, in the medium term, or long term. Then, above all, your cost. Cost is critical. If you don't watch your cost as you move on in business, there will be a challenge. So you have to necessarily identify those cost elements. What are the variable costs? What are the fixed costs, etc. Sometimes too, your reputational costs is very, very important as you go into business. So let us now just look at these elements one by one. Okay, so we'll start with the customer segments. If we say, for example, let's look at Chioma. So Chioma is a beauty professional somewhere in Lagos. Now she has been struggling to find a reliable cleaning service, right? Then all the options she has seen, they're either too expensive or when she read a review somewhere, they are inconsistent. So if you want to set up a business in that area, in cleaning services business, so a typical Chioma who is looking for convenient and affordable home cleaning solutions becomes a member of your customer segment. I mean, just by way of example. So Chioma, therefore, now represents what you might call a growing segment of people who need affordable and reliable cleaning solution services. I mean, that's by way of giving an example. So the customer segment building block identifies different groups or organizations that your enterprise, your new enterprise wants to serve, isn't it? So what is our role there to ensure that we are going to create value that will meet the needs of a typical Chioma? Okay, then we must prioritize all the Chiomas, either by way of geography or by way of sex, or by way of their income level, or by way of whichever you want to categorize them. But at the end of the day, you must know the kind of human beings you're dealing with. It doesn't have to be human beings. It could be animals, for example. I mean, people who sell pet insurance sometimes need to define what pet they are solving a problem for. So are you dealing with dogs? If you're dealing with dogs, what breed of dogs? And so on. Okay. So we'll move on to the value propositions. We have to really move pretty fast because of time. So value proposition is a bundle of products or services that enable us to create value for these customer segments, right? So we look at a typical Jide. Jide, for example, is interested in how he can juggle, say, his studies, right, with part-time work. So he needs a platform to sell his used textbooks conveniently and a fair price. The fact is that, yes, I know somebody many years ago, so he goes about looking for people who have old textbooks, and he just keeps gathering them. He gets them close to nothing. Then what he does, he takes it to his village school and does charity with them. However, it's also possible to have a platform where you can sell used textbooks. So if you have an online marketplace that becomes like a business, it can provide a solution that connects a typical Jide with potential buyers. Okay, and that's can actually be part of a business model. So for a typical Jide here, what he needs to do is to define the unique value that that business offers as he's trying to create a market for himself. So he will look at those segments he wants to reach, how his business addresses their needs, and as much as possible, the pain point is assuaging that he's trying to manage for these guys, the convenience he's creating for them, as well as the reason why they should choose him against any other business. That is actually the core of a value proposition. So the task here is, what value do we deliver to customers? Which one of our customers' problems are we solving? And what needs are we trying to satisfy? There is a difference between a problem and a need. We have to be very, very clear about that. Your problem is not the same thing as a need. When you identify what a problem is, a simple way to identify is that a problem could be measurable. You could moderate it from low to medium to severe. But when you satisfy a need, it's almost immeasurable. So a problem can be tied to what you call a functional benefit. A functional benefit is measurable. However, an emotional benefit is immeasurable, because you cannot measure it. So your value proposition also identifies all the products, all the bundles of products and services that we're offering to each of our customer segments. So we'll move on to the next one, which is the channels. Okay, so let us use the example of a typical Aisha. So Aisha now is a fashion designer somewhere in Kano. So what she wants to do is to reach a wide audience for her services. Now, her service becomes what she might refer to as unique clothing line. So if you were a typical Aisha, your online fashion boutique platform will provide a channel to showcase products, connect with potential customers, as well as facilitate some level of online purchases. So what does the business model canvas do for a typical fashion designer who is using some channels? One, it will be about how these channels help her deliver her value proposition. What is this, her value proposition? Her online fashion boutique, right? Then again, how she needs to define clearly how this online platform solves problems for her customers and the various partnerships she want to solve, and also specify how this channel makes it a lot easy to deliver these needs to her customers. Okay, so in defining what the channel is, what we have said is that your channels helps in describing how your business communicates and reaches your customer segments for the delivery of your identified value proposition. Okay, so the task is to ask yourself, which channels do our customer segment want to be reached? Okay, do they want to be reached by phone? Do they want to be reached by storefront offices? Do they want to be reached by email, by TV, etc.? So you have to ask yourself, which of them? Is it traditional or is it online media? So, or do they want to have some kind of integrated channels to engage them? So which one works best and so on. As we do it, we must also consider the cost efficiency of these channels. Now, once we are sure of the channels that we are going to use, the next thing is to look at, okay, how do we maintain and sustain these relationships that we've created with these identified segments? Now, the question we should ask ourselves is, in defining customer relationships, is to say, by way of definition, what type of relationships must we establish with them? Should we keep it arm's length, or should we be in their face? Okay. So the task for us is to look at what these people expect from us. These various customers, what do they expect? Remember, it's always about what the customer needs. Now, once we know what they need, we have to establish it clearly, write it clearly. This is what we think. You have to really get out of the door to go and do some kind of research to find out. So these relationships, what's it going to cost us at the end of the day? How integrated are these relationships connected to our business model? So I'll just look at an example again and say to ourselves, look, a typical Lagosian, who is running a successful online tutoring platform, let's say in Lagos, he requires activities like developing engaging learning content, right? Then recruiting qualified say tutors and marketing to students and say parents, right? Then managing the online learning environment. So for this type of person, what must he do? First, he has to define clearly the core activities, right? That is necessary to create that value that he wants to deliver. Okay. He must also consider the production, the marketing, and also the customer service. Okay. That is relevant to all the things that he needs to do. Because at the end of the day, relationship management is all about making sure that you understand the various segments and what they need. One moment.
So you have 5 minutes more. I'll add another 5. To make
Okay,
it
so
10
that makes
minutes.
it 10. So that makes it
Yes.
10, right?
Yes. Yes.
Thank you. All right, so now the next other element we need to consider is revenue streams, right? So if we look at the revenue streams, we're saying that this is how the company will generate income, and the cost of generation of that income. This must be well taken into consideration. Yeah, you have a situation where if you have a group of, say, young artists, say in the Abuja area, they want to create a mobile app to showcase their work and offering personalized art lessons. Okay, so the app must generate revenue through things like, say, subscription fees for access to the exclusive content that they have. What kind of things must the founders of that business do? Okay, they must first of all look at the various ways that that business will generate that revenue. They have to consider whether the subscription models will work, what kind of transaction fees, what kind of advertising and product sales and so on that needs to happen to continue to generate revenue for them. So the other is also the key resources. So let's say, for example, to launch a food delivery service in a place like Port Harcourt, you need a robust mobile app, a reliable logistics infrastructure, for example. Then you need some partnerships with the members of that community and other restaurants, okay? And you also need a skilled delivery team. So we need to identify, for this business, we need to identify the essential resources that is required, including the physical assets, the intellectual property, the human resources, and also financial resources that will be required. Another element in the business model canvas is the activities that must happen. So let us take an example we gave earlier on about the online tutoring platform. So it requires activities like, say, developing engaging learning content, and recruiting qualified tutors, etc. Okay, it's very, very important that we consider that as much as possible. Let's also look at the key partnerships. Key partnerships in this case, earlier on we looked at an e-commerce platform. So if we look at this e-commerce platform and say it is designed to, the way we are conceptualizing it, to create locally made crafts, we need to partner with logistics companies for efficient delivery of these items. So we partner with local artisans, for example, that can enable us supply the raw materials that we need. And also, we need social media influencers. So this is very, very key in trying to create the desired kind of partnerships. The other one we should look at is, like I said earlier on, the cost structure. So let us say we are creating a co-working space. We will incur costs for rent, furniture, equipment, and internet connectivity, and so on. So one of the things we must do, for example, is to understand the cost drivers. Okay, because that will enable us set the price, because the cost will determine what price. So if we don't manage our cost efficiently, then our pricing might just take us out of the market. So we really need to be very conscious of our cost structure. So one thing is very, very key in what we're in looking at the business model canvas. One, it provides us with clarity. It provides us with, when I say clarity now, it enables us focus on elements that are drivers of success for the business we are trying to conceptualize. It creates platform for collaboration and makes it easy for us to scale the business and sustain it, because we are looking at certain parameters. Again, it helps us to create and measure impact. So let's just take the next 5 minutes and look at certain examples of real-world businesses. So this Moderna vaccines, we used a couple of them in Nigeria. Now, this vaccine was merely created not too long ago. I think it was even during COVID, when most of these organizations were challenged to come up with a vaccine in less than 1 year. Okay, so these guys went into business. So what did they do? What was their customer segment when they were creating the Moderna vaccine? So the customer segments were along the lines of governments, healthcare providers, and individuals. So what did they have in their hands that they want to solve problems for, which is the value proposition? So they came up with highly effective and rapidly developed vaccines. What channels did they use? It was direct sales to government and partnerships with distributors. I mean, we all saw on our TV screens what happened that period, how they were all being shipped, how planes were waiting for all those vaccines in their various boxes. Okay, so what revenue streams? The sales and also research agreements. So part of research agreements was that the government was going to pay them some amount of money upfront. Okay, so those revenue streams. Now, what were the key resources that were deployed? Research labs, manufacturing facilities, and what? Scientific expertise. So those were the resources that were all put together. So what key activity did they engage in? Research and development, clinical trials, manufacturing, marketing, etc. What key partnerships did they put together to deliver this value proposition? They had a lot of manufacturing partners, the people that manufactured the various syringes, the people that manufactured the vials, bottles, and so on. So government agencies and healthcare providers. What cost structure did they incur? R&D costs, manufacturing costs, and regulatory fees. I think let's look at another one that I think we all know. Let us look at Khan Academy, for example. Many of us use Khan Academy to study over the years. So what was the customer segment of Khan Academy? One. What was their, how did they set out? So it was they offered a free online educational resource where learning was democratized. And the quality of that education was very high. So customer segments for Khan Academy was the student, teachers, and parents. The value proposition was free, personalized, and interactive learning resources. The channels was website, mobile app, YouTube, etc. Revenue streams was donations and corporate sponsorships. The key resources was educational content, learning platform, technology infrastructure, and so on. The key activities for them was what? Content creation, they needed to make that happen. Platform development, which had to be ongoing, and teachers training to make, that's the kind of people who were going to facilitate those training online, and a great deal of marketing. What key partnerships did they create? Okay, so so let me just finish these two now. What key partnerships did they create? Educational institutions, I mean, many of them across many universities and higher institutions, high schools all over the world. Technology companies and donors. What was the cost structure? Technology cost, content creation cost, and so on. With these two examples, I believe we basically have an idea of what the value proposition is for the various business model canvas, and the fact that for a typical academic environment, when they come together, they should be able to do what? Put together their vision in such a way that this model will help inspire some kind of direction for them to achieve their goals. I hope we've been able to add some value to us. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ogbuagu, for that presentation. It's been a very interesting and a good learning environment. Mr. Ogbuagu has taken us on building a unicom in an academic venture, which can be a business set up by an individual or groups of people. And they said what is more common is a group of people because everybody have their set of skills that they bring on board to make the business what it's supposed to be. And it took us through the principles of business model canvas, which is a visual framework that has about 9 distinct characteristics that helps in solving the problem, the building blocks, as it called it, of the BMC. And as it remains on the screen, we have the customer segment value proposition and the channel, customer relationship, revenue stream, key resources, key activities, key partnerships, and cost structure. All these we are fully expatiated on and give a very good examples on each value. I took away something on cost. I mean, you can do a very good product, but if your cost is beyond what the customer can buy, you have a product that is not sellable. So you must work within a cost structure that will make your business or your products to be able to get to the market. And we looked at why we need the business model canvas to provide clarity, communication, and collaboration. And to round it up, he gave some real life examples of businesses that have been modeled along that building block, like Madonna. Madonna, I can easily align with because I saw what they did. I mean, it was a company that nobody knew of until COVID. And before you know it, it became an household name. I mean, for those who were following their activities there. And there were some other things that they were able to do. I mean, the value proposition they had, they were effectively able to carry it out. So those are some of that. Then also Khan Academy which, like you said, a lot of people have benefited from significantly. So that's been the, in a nutshell, the presentation from Mr. Ogwaju. I would like us to have, that's why I asked him to stop so that we have a good enough time to ask questions. Our mandate for this webinar is an hour, and we like to keep within that time frame. So if you have questions, comments, and contribution, I'd like to see your electronic hand by way of indicating through the electronic means, and we'll be called upon to ask that question. Additionally, I would have loved to add that if you are going to ask a question, it might be the style, ideally, in a webinar, for you to switch on your camera so that we can see you while you are asking the question. I can see Isiaku Abdullahi. So ask your question, make your contribution, and please make it brief. Okay, please, if you have a question, can you indicate so that I'll allow a few of us to ask our question, and then Mr. Ogwaju will respond collectively so that we just don't do back and forth. I can see 2 hands already, so please, if you can, as much as possible, can you just switch on your video so that we see you and you ask your question. Mr. Isiaku, over to you. Mr. Isiaku Abdullahi, can you hear me? Please unmute and ask the question. Okay, if he's unable to do that, Ibrahim Kamara, can we have you?
Hello? Am I audible?
Yeah, you are. Please
Okay.
go ahead.
Thank you very much, professors, for the brilliant presentation. My question is based on the business plan and the business model canvas, the BMC. Sorry. So before now, we were using the business plan that contains all information about the business, your segments, just like what we have in the BMC. But in the business plan, they are like more detailed, and you get to know more about what the business is about. So in today's area, we are now focusing on BMC. Does that mean we are not supposed to use the business plan, or they should go together? I just want some clarity on that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'll take the next hand there. Professor Upong, it's over to you, ma. Please unmute and ask a question. Hello? Professor Upong, are you there? Isiaku Abdullahi, I can still see your hand up. Can you unmute yourself? Hello? Hello? Can you unmute Mr. Isiaku? Professor Upong, can you unmute? Hello? I don't know if I'm the one that is not hearing you. Mr. Item, can you hear Mr. Isiaku?
Hello?
Yeah, I had the first question, but nothing thereafter.
Okay,
I didn't even... Mr. Abdullahi.
Sir, can you hear me?
It's breaking from my hand here. I don't know if it's my network, but you can go ahead and ask your question. The speaker might be able to get you.
Okay, thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. And I would like to take us to the event because yes, actually, one of the questions I wanted to ask has been addressed already earlier on. But the second question I would like to ask that what are the key indicators for actually business sustainability? Like as earlier stated, that it's not about going into the business, but you have to sustain it a period of time, at least for you to be something. So I would like to ask are there? I think that is all I have. Thank you very much.
Professor Upong, can you try again and unmute?
Yes, I can. Thank you. Sorry for
Please.
Yes.
Okay.
I hope you can hear me
Yes.
now.
Yes, you can. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Sorry. I think I typed my question into the chat box, but I mean, thanks for the brilliant lecture. Very, very educative and motivating. I'm curious about looking at the public university like OAU. What does this mean? Looking at the bureaucracy, the old system, how would you think that we can integrate this kind of business model into a public university institution? Like you're not going to run a private model within a public institution, yet you're going to maintain this using a public institutional model that is very bureaucratic. I don't know if you've given it a thought, and I'm very curious. I'd like to hear your thoughts on it. Thank you very much. Over.
Thank you very much, Ma. I think we have a couple of questions now, and I'd like to invite our speaker to respond to those questions, and we might be able to take another set of questions before we round up. Thank you. Mr. Abuaku.
Okay, thank you very much, and thanks for the commendation. I could only hear the first question and the last questions. The second person was rather patchy. I just took one word from what everything said.
Hold on, sir.
Yes.
Can I have Mr. Isiaku to send his question to the chat box? Just because I was not able to hear the question as well. Can you just send it to the chat box and we'll be able to read it? Thank you. Please go ahead.
Okay, so the first question was about business model canvas and business plan. Which one should be jettisoned? The fact is that all the content of a typical business plan indeed is expatiated in the business model building block in much detailed format. Very, very detailed. Let us say, for example, at the level of describing your company, which is the first thing you do in a business plan, you'll find it in the value proposition, for example. Because when you describe your company in the business plan, you're saying, this is what I want to do, this is the name of the company, this is what the problem that we think the company will solve. That is the first thing you do in developing your business plan. Then the next thing you do is to identify the opportunities, isn't it, in a typical business plan. And those opportunities are found in the value proposition as well as the customer segments. Now, then the next thing you do is you're looking at your competitive analysis. Your activities and your partnerships are elements that are in your competitive analysis in a typical business plan. Your marketing plan exists in your channels as much and with greater focus. Then your marketing plan too exists there. Then when you look at your financial resources or financial planning in your business plan, you find it embedded in your revenue streams as well as your key resources as well as the cost structure and the activities also. Then you don't look at the other element of your business plan is your team, specifying who your team is. You'll find it in your key resources and in your partnerships. So the point I'm trying to make is that, okay, the next one is your funding requirements in a typical business plan. All these things are in your business model canvas, and they're all explained in greater details. can you mute your mic, please? Okay, so can you hear me clearly?
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
Yes. So the point I'm making is that the business model canvas is actually everything in your typical business plan and more. Yeah, so that's to answer the first question. Then the one about bureaucracy in public institutions and how the business model canvas fits in there. Okay, so the business model canvas, to the best of my knowledge, is not okay. It could be used for a typical institution, whether it's private or public, as a model. Okay, but what we are focused on today is the academic ventures that can come out of a typical collaboration between the faculty members, students, and researchers within at that institution. What they have done is either as individuals or in a collaborative fashion. What they want to do is to cause to be come into existence a business, something that either should make impact in a cost recovery fashion that may not be profit focused, or it could be something that is profit focused. You can use this business model canvas. So we have looked at it within the academic environment and as an academic venture, not the institution as a whole being a venture. It could be, if that is the play that they want to focus on. Yeah, so that I think that.
Thank you very much. I think we are running out of time. I can only take just one or two questions. If you do want to ask, can I see your hand? Otherwise, I'll begin to wind down this session. The response have been very adequate. I get the question, the response to it's not the university as a business venture. It's about individual within the university setting up a business venture that can become a unicorn. So the institution, a public institution, is not the public institution running the business, but faculties within the institution setting up the business and running it. That is what this model essentially works for. I was interested in that question. I get and appreciate the response. I have not seen any hands raised, so I assume that we have satisfied with the responses, and the presentation have been well received. I want to, on behalf of Opolo Initiative and the Central Office of Research, profusely thank Speaker Mr. Kem Ubuaku for the wonderful presentation. It's been an eye-opener, and it's been interesting how we learned quite a lot. Maybe as academics, I need to start looking into the business and seeing the business model and how it works. So it's been a very eye-opening. I want to appreciate you, sir. I want to thank you for taking the time out of your very busy schedule to enlighten us in this. We hope that when we do call upon you again, you'll be able to give us your time. And I want to appreciate every participant and everyone that has taken time out of their busy schedule to participate in this webinar. It's been a refreshing time with having you all here. And I want to thank you very much. And I hope that when we do invite you again for another interesting segment of this, you will be available. Thank you, and have a good afternoon.
Thank you very, very
much.
I really appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
Yes.
Thank you.